Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of What's in the Feed. It's your boy Low Tone. Start off by saying this is a long time coming, and I really do appreciate all of the support on Twitter. So essentially, I'm a retired rapper, producer. Had contracts back in the 90s in the Seattle area. Nothing big, mostly independent, but a lot of street fame. Moved to the Midwest and to settle down and essentially got a lot more conservative and started to see how the Democratic Party, how the liberals were taking advantage of, black people. And I wasn't buying it. COVID happened and things got really oppressive in Seattle, and I started to really see the wool was pulled from my eyes that I had been sold a bill of goods. So, essentially had a pretty good following, a good Twitter following from the entertainment business, a lot of which fell off when I started to share my conservative views, of course. Some people just don't have the capacity to understand critical thinking. And, I'm a smart analytical guy. So I started to make comments on posts that popped up. And, with the smallish amount of reach that I had, I started getting comments back from some big conservative names, or not comments back, but I would make comments and I would get likes and reposts, which shocked me because it shows how compact the world is now. Now I've got people like Sebastian Gorka and Dom Luker and some other large names. I'm not trying to name drop here, but you can go through the feeds and you can see. But it lets me know that the intelligent banter or the responses that I have back to some of these stories is getting attention from literally people in the administration. So I thought, you know what? I had been asked by, a few people here and there, do you have a podcast? Who do you represent? And I don't represent anybody. Didn't have a podcast. Had a podcast, actually fresh out the box radio for several years. Uh, mostly entertainment and news with a co-host, L Dub. Um, but it's been many, many years since I popped back on the mic and actually felt inspired to do something. But I want to explain what this format is going to be. Um, we all see how serious things have become. Tend to want to put a comical spin on things. So I thought, here's a great idea. I'm sure somebody out there who's bigger and brighter than I am will probably steal this ideal. But I'm calling it What's in the Feed. What's in the Feed is me on a weekly basis going back and looking at the most liked tweets and the ones that were, the most, that got the most reaction. Um, so we'll start off with that. So that's the premise of it. Today, as I was getting ready to get on, I saw something that was comical to me. Um, there are a lot of people in the Democratic Party that I look at and I cannot take serious and I consider clowns. But on that top of the list, even above ALC, who I just consider just a bubblehead. We called them bubbleheads back in the days. You know, not smart, dipshit, dummies, bobbleheads, bubbleheads, whatever you want to call them. And that's what ALC is. But Jasmine Crockett, by far, has got to be the biggest clown. And as y'all can see, I'm black too. She does not put the best representation of what you would want to consider as an intelligent, civilized politician. Let me just put it that way. Um, So I want to start off by going, I thought Democrats never cheat, right? So let me pull this up here. This is all a test, so I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear this, but let me run this. This is Jasmine Crockett right now, who has officially lost the Democratic primary in Texas, which we all knew would happen because there was just no way. Um, the world is not ready for a ratchet senator. But let's take a listen.
It has already stated, we encourage each and every one of you to remain resilient. We cannot allow this type of behavior to be rewarded, because so long as they know that they can win, even if it means cheating, then they will continue to do it. So I am asking you, I am begging you to make sure that you go ahead and figure out where it is that you are supposed to vote, stand in line, wait in line. All red has.
All right. So I think you guys can see where I'm going with this. This is how dumb this bitch is, excuse my French. She's talking about cheating. And you know, when she's talking about they, she doesn't even realize that she's running in a Democratic primary. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that. You guys think about that. She's talking about getting cheated in a Democratic primary when all they do all day is talk about how the Republicans want to cheat. Now, this is classic projection. You know, the January incident where we came out because there was legitimate questions. Legitimate. They threw all them people in jail. Why? Because they wanted to cover up their cheating. Everybody knows they're cheating. They know they're cheating, but we're getting this projection now where I know you are, but what am I? Sort of a thing. Where everything that they do, they want to project on us. And I think that's classic communism. You know, I'm not schooled up enough to know. I didn't take my notes on it, but I hear that's a strategy that they use. So I find that utterly amusing. Guys, I want to give you a little bit of a little laugh here. Just take a look at this.
That's my purse. I don't know you.
That's probably pretty loud, let's be honest. But you get where I'm getting at on that. We're going to find a little funny here and there. Let me start off with the most liked stuff this week. So we're going to have to go back to last week. This week, we all know, has been occupied with what's going on in the Middle East and Iran. And there just isn't anything funny about it. So I'm not going to joke about it. We'll talk about it in, next week's show as we get more comments in and as I comment on things that I find relevant to make notes on. But if you remember last week, we had the big old hubbub about this man. Why can't Democrats have fun? It's the most ridiculous thing ever. So we had the big fluff up about Kash Patel and celebrating the win of the U.S. men's hockey team. A huge achievement for the United States. So, I thought it was funny, and here you go. Shout out to Cat Turd. He came with this one, but he came with that one only after I came with this one. And that's me posting a picture of everybody's favorite tool, Stephen Colbert and Pocahontas Elizabeth Warren, tossing one up. Now, I found many. I found Hillary Clinton. Um, who's the other one? The shaky lady. Anyways, a bunch of politicians pandering to their constituents. Well, I'm a regular person like you, and I drink beer. Well, you can drink beer all you want, and you can toss one up, but Lord forbid our FBI director celebrate with the United States hockey team. I find that rich. So, Keith Olbermann, don't know where he disappeared to and whatever black hole he disappeared to, but this guy is one of the most visceral human beings on earth. I can't stand this guy. He is in the same boat as Don Lemon. There has-beens who never were popular at what they did. They weren't good at what they did. If they were good at what they did, they would have popped up. They would have done a Tucker and created their own media legacy, or Megyn Kelly, who has her own channel on series now, who I'm not happy with at this moment, but we'll get to that at another time. Um, there's some diverging opinions on Iran, and it shocks me how some of the most die-hard supporters jump ship, and all I can think of is it's a money thing. We're starting to get shadows of COVID. Anyways, so Oberman posts this. It's official. U.S. gold-winning Olympic hockey team declines invitation to be political props for Trump at State of the Union tomorrow. The women, that is. The men are still too stupid, self-absorbed, and misogynistic to realize that going will stick to them permanently. But, come on. We're at a point where these people want us not to be happy about America, not want us to don't want us to be proud to be Americans, is the better way to say it. So I posted, and this got a pretty good reaction. And this is just me venting on Oberman. I'm usually a little bit more intelligent than this, but I said, you're a bitch, Oberman. If Biden was in office, you wouldn't have noticed, you beta cuck. Get another glass of haterade. A win for the U.S. is a win for all Americans. Do you ever think before you post this crap? TDS much? And I just, this is a continuation of, once again, anything that Trump does, or anything that is normal parlance, which it is normal, doesn't matter what political party you represent, when an American team or an American sport, or the Super Bowl winners, whoever it is always going to get their photo op with whoever the president at the time is. And this whole Trump is Hitler thing, and if you go, it's a stain on your legacy. It's bullshit. So I had to point that out to him. Non-political, because stuff pops up in my feed. I don't know if you guys know anything about what's going on with the 50 Cent, or actually the beef with T.I. and 50 Cent. But I had to make a comment on this because I just plopped on it. I like T.I. I think T.I.'s great, and I like 50. So there's really no dog in the fight, but on this one, when I push play, and I'm not going to play it because probably it's copyright, you guys can listen to it on your own. I was dazzled. T.I. spit some fire on this one, and as diss records go, I put this up there. In the new school disses, we're not gonna get to hit him up or no Vaseline or anything of that nature. But he did make a good point, a couple of good points. and T.I. still spits fire. But I had a comment. I said 50. I said 50 Cent. 50 finally found one rapper he can't win against. Not lyrically, at least. Fucked around and got T.I. motivated. Those are some of the best bars I've heard in years. And there's an opinion on both sides about who is, you know, better, or, side by side, who has the better catalog. But I thought that was, funny, something that I would comment on. Um, and here's a shocker for me, too. This will let you know, but later on, you're going to see the kind of people who comment on my post. Adam Schiff posted something, and I had to go back to the original post, which I'll find. I was blocked by Pencil Neck Adam Schiff. Little old me. Out of hundreds of thousands of comments on this one post of many posts, little old low tone gets blocked. Can you believe that shit? So Adam Schiff seems to know who I am. And I've made other comments on there too. I mean, like, my profile picture, is kind of, I'm not going to say iconic, but it's eye-catching. It's easy to see. It looks like I'm somebody. Let me see if I can pull this up, guys. Just bear with me here. I got it pulled up. Blocked. Wow. Well, it was letting me pull this thing up before. 6 of you. Anyways. Okay, there we go. So here's the post. Sorry about that. I'm getting used to going back and looking backwards. I don't normally do that. So here is the original post from Adam Schiff. And this was concerning that whole celebration thing. This guy, to me, and I told you what my opinion was, what Jasmine Crockett was. Look at this guy. He is the demon. He is a demon incarnate. There's no question about it. This guy is not a human being. He is a reptilian. He is the most evil scumbag in the fucking Democratic Party. And he's just vile to look at. But here's a simple post. I mean, and when I read it back and looked at it, it really wasn't that big a deal. You can comment on it and let me know. So just Cash Patel deserves a gold medal too for wasting taxpayer money and world-class hypocrisy. What a disgrace for our FBI to be passing this off as official business. Now, here's my comment. And this comment is tame when you look at it. I mean, there you go. These people hate America. The irony of Mr. Schiff talking about wasting taxpayer money is just too rich. Really? This is what you get blocked for. When you point out, I mean, in the most simple, straightforward way, this is what they block you for. This is what they can't handle. Seriously. This is what they can't handle. And I know that I'm doing this weekly podcast with humor, that somehow I'll probably get on the list of their, Gestapo roundup when and if ever they get back into power. So I'm on Adam Schiff's block list. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Now, here's an interesting post. Andre Williams. I mean, he posts he fell onto and all respect, Andre. I love you, dude. And I have no criticism here, so I'm just saying, shout out to Andre Williams. But I'm telling you, as the listener, as the watcher here, you better be prepared um, to hear some real, no filtered stuff about the black community when it comes to Andre. And I agree with 99.9% of what he's saying, but the way that he's saying it is definitely may even come off offensive to, you know, someone in the tribe, so to speak. Not me. But he posts this post from this individual, and the clip is a little bit too long, so I won't get into it. Actually, this is a clip that he shared from Tizzy Woman. Okay. She's a well known Karen, sort of your poster woman. Let me see. Yeah. Look at the avatar. This is the poster woman for the affected white liberal here, who they can't get enough of feeling sorry for black people. They just can't. They can't get enough of it. And so she posts this, of course, because it's a black man, so that validates here I am, and I'm showing you what the black people are saying. Coon ass nigga just perpetuating this racist thing. And I hate these sorry motherfuckers. And you will have to listen to what Andre says about it. Actually, he comments on it. He doesn't talk about this. But it kills me. Look, I came up from hard scrabble, gangs, drugs, felonies, the whole 9 yards. I will not go into my history, but the point is that there is a way to pull yourself up from the bootstraps. There is a way to make a change. There is a way to become successful. And I teach it to young people all the time. And that's simply to get yourself out of the mindset of being a victim. Because once you aren't a victim and you're empowered, then you'll take that power and you'll use that power to garner experience and knowledge and learn. That will be a seminar I will give privately to anybody who wants it. And of course, there's always going to be those people out there that are going to, you're the except. I used to make a lot more, comments on other things, but I didn't want to waste my time on those who can't be saved. You can't save people who don't want to be saved. Anyways, that way being said, we hear about the story from Marietta, Georgia. You may have seen it pop up in the news. If you watch liberal news, you probably saw it pop up that they found this individual who was found who had hung himself, ruled suicide. But this fool wants us to believe that there was something nefarious behind it. And it's just ridiculous. Andre made a post about it. I watched the video. It's just cry me a river. And we just don't got time for it. So, as I said, me having the card, I speak as I speak, and I communicate like we communicate to each other. So I said, I swear this nigga gets paid to post the shit. To get these dumb white Karens and I added her, Tizzy Woman, to bite on this nonsense. Stop giving them fuel for this ridiculous fire that's never going to catch. I'll leave it at that because I already spent too much time on it. Now, okay, good. We got a bunch of followers follow me now. Speaking of which, I've got a modest following. My posts, and which I don't really do too many actual posts, it's more comments. And my comments get a lot of likes, they get a lot of engagement, they get a lot of retweets, but I can always use more followers. So if you're one of those people, that will eventually curiosity will bring you to listen to this. Uh, I would thank you to follow me. I'm not the kind of person that likes to ask for charity of any kind. If you feel it's entertaining and you feel like you want to help with the content, remember this is just the start of this, and there's big plans to be had. But the thing is that everyone needs content, and so I'm going to have to start building up that content. And with your help, I think that that could be successful. We gave it a trial run and it worked out pretty good. So if you weren't involved in that initial trial run, no big deal. I still love you for your support. And if you see this and you like it and you find it entertaining, then go ahead, follow on Twitter. And that's simply at Low Tone. I think it's, Low Tone 90. No, Low Tone, Low Dash Tone, the real Low Tone. It'd be at Low Tone. But anyways, that's because, somebody thought they were being clever. Figured out my name 20 years after I did. And here's another thing. So I always have an irritation. Shout out to Nick Sorter. Nick Sorter puts out a lot of good content. And as I said, I would consider myself, and this will be a Rumble exclusive. I want to start posting on YouTube, but I just don't feel like YouTube is the proper, platform for this. And Rumble tends to be a more niche market, and that's kind of how I like it. Just like when, I was rapping, I kind of would rather be part of the underground and building something up. And I think I see a bright future for Rumble, so it's definitely going to be on a Rumble. But Nick Sorter, who puts out some bangers, and he has a lot of time. He really does put out a lot of content, and it's surprising to me. But where he misses and he whiffs, and this might have got some of the best response of the week, quite frankly, is that he doesn't at the person that it's meant to affect. So if he's talking about, like in this case, Senator Thune, he doesn't at Senator Thune. And I'm like, wait a minute, yeah, this is a great take on it. So it's wow, and that is now running national TV. Fox News is amped it up. Pressure on Senate Republicans to pass the SAVE Act. We already know about how much that's getting. And it goes, Senate rules, so on and so forth. And I go, this is targeted at John Thune. John Thune's been getting a lot of heat within these last couple of weeks. I don't know how happy I was, but if you share the same sort of happiness that I do, and we both believe, or we're on, on a similar wavelength, when they passed the SAVE Act, I rejoiced. I lived in a state that was the first sanctuary state. Thank you. Washington State was a sanctuary state when I was a kid, when people didn't even know what a sanctuary state was. And there was a mass migration of a lot of Mexicans from California, legal and illegal. Don't get me wrong, I'm half Hispanic, well, European Spanish. My mom's literally from Spain. So she is an immigrant, a legal immigrant. And I would dare you to ask a immigrant that came here legally what they feel about illegal immigrants, illegal aliens. And my mom is a fiery Spanish lady who holds nothing back and is salty as hell. And you want to get her fired up? bring up that conversation. But that's a conversation for another day. Anyways, so I just say to Nick Sorter, like, why not just act Senator doing all this? This is just preaching to the choir. We all know this. The one that needs to be affected is the one who needs to be paying attention to the outrage here. And I think he does. I've seen him today, just where we're at 3-3, March 3rd. He's been posting like crazy all of these other, bills that they got up and all of these other subjects, only to get swatted down. If you got to go look at some of those comments, it doesn't matter what he's saying, where he was talking about affordable housing and shit. And I commented that on that today, like, what the fuck are you talking about affordable housing for? That's a Democrat talking point. We're fighting for affordable housing now. I get it. I understand. If you want to say the housing market or whatever, don't use their lingo. You're basically capitulating to this whole "we're going to change language" thing, unhoused and affordability and transgenderism and all these niceties for shit that's just straight up. You could come up with a more direct way to say it, or we're changing the the English language. So Nick Sorter, whom I respect, get a little better with that, because you drop some nice bombs and it is never going to be seen, and it's never going to affect the people who actually need to be affected. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, here's a good one. And this is and you guys will probably feel me on this. So we got Cat Turd. Shout out to Cat Turd. He's infamous. We all know who he is. He's got some great takes, and great minds think alike. I like this guy. Morgan Freeman, one of our heroes, and he's on a list of A-listers who seem to be coming out and trying to get people to join them in their alternate reality. Sorry, I was grasping for a way to say it that would make it entertaining. But they're coming out, and we've got a bunch of A-listers talking about we live in this world under Trump, and it's each one of them has their own take, and I'll let you make your decision on how you feel about it. But these people do not live in the same reality we live in. I don't know if it's eating the babies or the adrenochrome or whatever it is that causes these people to come out and say this ridiculous stuff, knowing that they live in the same world that we live in. They have money, they have affluence. There is nothing bad going on right now. We all get up, we all go to work, everything's normal, everything's fine. This is doom and gloom about the world we live in, and I gotta move to France, and I don't recognize the world we live in. It's bullshit. But shout out to Cat Turk. So this is just me commenting out the wind. And I'm saying, is it just me? Or are we seeing a parade of former A-listers shitting on the world they live in under Trump? Where do they get the script from? I'm skipping that movie. And all of these posts that I'm commenting on are ones that got reaction. So hence you can see why I can easily go through and find these, because they get engagement. But some are funnier than others. And here's a visual. So sometimes it's just a visual. It's just a meme. We all know Congressman Al Green shucking and jiving You know, Mr. I'm going to impeach, which is ridiculous. This guy here, look at his face, you know, like you can see the split screen. This is what Trump derangement syndrome looks like. This guy. Uh, he got it bad, real bad. And I thought this was funny, and I laughed, and then I immediately thought, oops, what did I say? Uh-oh, I detect another controversy. You know what happened when they put out that um, Lion King, uh, parody with the Obamas as monkeys? Good gravy. Once again, I think the ongoing theme is going to be that liberals have no sense of humor. They really don't. But I thought that was funny, so I commented on it. Yeah. Here's a good one. Where'd it go? Trump administration now controls Paramount and Warner Brothers. And then they go, they're freaking out. I says, is it just me or does the spin make you dizzy? I'm losing weight from all the vomiting. And this one doesn't. There's a piece of this that was on here that isn't on here now. And that was the outrage freaking out that now that Paramount control and, Paramount and Warner Brothers, Netflix is out. Netflix backed out. And they're freaking out going, oh, it's Trump controls it now, and oh, now it's all over. It's ridiculous. Now we know why the liberals and why the left wanted Netflix to be in control of it. It's the same reason they don't want Elon to be part of X. They want to be able to create a imaginary world and a narrative that doesn't exist, and they want to feed us woke ideology. And we all know as we watch some of our favorite shows that it is the mind washing and the brainwashing has been immaculate over the few years that Biden was in and slightly prior to that before people noticed it. But you can go back, and if you're looking or listening to any of the media from the last 5 years, I'd say, you see it in there and you'll catch it. My wife and I used to laugh about how when Biden got in, every couple on a commercial was mixed race. And we're a mixed race couple. We're together for 30 plus years. So it happens, it definitely represents a lot of people, but it doesn't represent all people. You don't know how refreshing it is to see a good old-fashioned white commercial without all of the nonsense, some pink-haired, transgender Asian with a black dude, which never happens. Come on now. They teach them against that. Hey, look, nothing against my Asian brothers and sisters, but they might be the most racist culture on earth. Anyway, so that's big news. It's me giving accolades. Now here's another unrelated to politics and conservatism. So what I'm going to do is let me roll this up and we'll play this video for you real quick, okay?
Alright, boom. Man's got a little padlock there and some gallium metal in it. And we're going to mash up the padlock using a gallium steel. So first, I need a little hot water and that in it. But obviously, we're going to melt down the gallium. It melts at only 29 degrees Celsius, fam. That's bare low.
We're not talking
you
about
literally melt with
gallium.
your hands and that, bro.
We're talking about
So after that, yeah, man's got to remove the excess water so we can get the pure gallium metal and that in it.
Here
You know
we
what I'm saying?
go.
Bare shiny and that, fam, reflective settings. Then after that, yeah, we need to remove the aluminium oxide layer on the padlock so we can get to the
So
pure
apparently they're
aluminium
telling us to
underneath,
commit
innit?
a crime,
Then we're going to
or
pick up
how to
some
commit a
gallium
crime.
and slap that straight onto the padlock, innit? And I'm going to leave that for
Uh-huh.
about 30 minutes or something. Then when I come back, yeah, look at this, bro. Man can just mash up the padlock with my fingers and that, fam. No
Oh, look at
effort.
that.
So when gallium comes into contact with other metals like copper, iron, and aluminium and that,
Yeah.
something called gallium-induced structural failure occurs. And that's when the gallium metal disrupts the metallic bonds.
That shit right there is ultra poisonous. That's why he's got the gloves on. That shit will go right into your bloodstream and you're a goner. So here we are, stupidity. And he's handling that thing pretty roughly. So I just said, man, those gloves bust. He's a goner. That shit is not to be messed with. Don't try this at home, boys and girls. That's what I'm saying. So we're getting into the recent week. That was last week's tweets. Thank you for bearing with me. There really hasn't been a lot of entertaining stuff on the net, this week. Because, like I said, there's a lot of information that's coming in on Iran, and this is a ongoing situation. And so, for me to give my opinions on it really aren't valid right now. I'm waiting to see how things are going. I was talking to my mother today after a long time, and she asked how I felt about it because, on a humanitarian standpoint, people of her age, and she's from Europe, and given all of the trials and tribulations that we've been having with getting Europe on board, the UN to, take America's lead on this, and with what's the guy's name? Shermer, whoever the guy is in Europe, not wanting to let us use their bases. And I'm sorry, his name's on the tip of my tongue. It's not that I don't know who it is. I just can't remember his name. And then the Spain coming out today saying that they did not want to let us use their air base, which we have there, to refuel and fly out of so that we were closer and we didn't have to make too much of a trip. Just to me, I don't, it's hard for me to understand how our staunch allies are where they are at, because, as the UN Charter goes, it doesn't matter who's wrong or right in the situation. We all agree to band together when these sort of situations happen. So I can see why Trump over the years has looked at the UN as, defunct, because formerly it was needed. And I'm not saying that it is needed, that's probably not the term, but it was advantageous for all of us, all of our countries to work together to keep the scourge of whatever it was, communism. And now it's Islamism. And I won't go too far down that rabbit hole because there's a lot of opinions. But I'm a God-fearing Christian. Jesus is the Lord. Jesus is King. He is my Savior. He is the one true God, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Trinity in Christianity is what colors how I live and how I navigate. And there's a lot of people like that. And it doesn't need to be, you don't need to be a Bible thumper. You don't even need to be a churchgoer to have Jesus in your heart and to be saved and to have that as a guide. Leaving that where it is. But there's been a lot of news about, there was a lot of news here about, a couple of months ago about all of that fraud that was happening in Minnesota or Minneapolis. And so a post popped up. I believe it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. Update bombshell from Trump supporter. It says positive vibes. I don't know exactly who this is. They don't pop up very often, but it says update. In a bombshell announcement, President Donald Trump and the DHS Secretary Noam have officially ended temporary protection status (TPS) for Somalis in the United States. Thousands must leave by March 17 or they'll be deported. I'm going to pause here. Let me lean back here real quick. Okay, you follow me on this. It's about time. Now I'll tell you that the Mexicans and that the Hispanics have been getting it because they're closer to white, but even though because they're brown, white people, the white Karens and the bleeding hearts are always gonna scream racism. But I tell you what, I know this one, some heads exploded. We'll tell you a little secret, that I think that on immigration, they have had a habit over the years of taking it easier on the ones that are browner. Now, comment, let me know. I mean, if you pay attention, like I've been paying attention, I will tell you this without any compunction. They have taken it easier on the Africans, the Somalians, and some of the other groups. Most of which, actually, because of the process that's required, a lot of them do come here legally. There are a lot of law-abiding, American-loving Africans that come to this country and they do well. They do very well. Along the lines of Indians. When they come here and they start businesses and they're successful and they assimilate as much as they possibly can. But for whatever reason, the Somalians in this case, let's just go with the numbers, tend to be the largest group of black. They're not considered Africans. They're not African Americans. They're really not considered black. I know this is weird for a lot of people to understand. You delve deeper into it, you'll understand. And this is not me saying it about them. This is them saying it about us. They do not consider African Americans and Africans to be the same as them. As a matter of fact, they consider themselves as inbred and as dumb as these people are. Not all of them. Okay. We're not talking about the exception to the rule. As a group, as ignorant and uneducated as they are, they feel like they're better than even white people. They're the ultimate. They're the best. They're the primary. When you know that about the way that these people believe, that you have to understand that it isn't about black or white in this case. It's about the fact that they want supremacy over all because they are the alphas. They are the chosen ones. Well, we can all educate ourselves on that, but you know what? I had a great opinion on this. I had a conversation with the boys in the office the other day, and I said to them, if you're here because we were talking about what we'll bring this in with a and Iran tie-in. Okay, we're like, hey boys, you got your guns, you strapped up, you got your ammo. It's a big joke over here in Indiana where I'm at, once it's an open carry state. And when I came over here, I had to realize, or I had realized very quickly, coming from a place where you can't own a gun at all, you might as well be living in Canada. Uh, you have to have uh, a squeaky clean record. And I mean, you have to go through 10 degrees of separation to get a firearm in Washington State, Seattle area. So no one has one unless they have one illegally. But that said, so we're joking about it, because we're having fun and we're poking at, having a little bit of fun at the expense of, um, the Muslims, and the fact that Biden had left millions of these people in. So are these sleeper cells going to start doing things? Is basically where we were at. And we're laughing, and yeah, we got it all. We got all backed up, and are you worried? And I go, you know what? Here's how I look at it. This will tie into this comment here with Somalians. As they say, if you live here, if you come over from the Middle East with the ideology, you've lived there, okay? You can be here 1 year. You can be here 2 years, and I'm still worried. You can be here 3 years. I'm mildly concerned. You can be here 4 years. Maybe not so much. But after 5 years in America, you've enjoyed the fruits of the freedom of America. Do you want your Big Mac and your Kentucky Fried Chicken and your Twinkies and your, your soda? Or do you want to blow yourself up and martyr yourself? Or do you want to get packed up and go back to, your dirt clot? There's just no way happening. If you're here for 5 years, whether you like it or not, how hard you push back, you have enjoyed a long-term dose of the United States, and you know it's the best place on earth. And you may just change your no. Not enough maybe to forsake Allah or whatever the case is. But I sure as hell don't see you strapping an ID, an improvised, explosive device on yourself to go blow up a mall somewhere. So I'd be on the lookout for any of them that have been in this country for less than 3 years. Because when you get into 4 and 5 years, really, to me, I'm like, nah, it doesn't matter. You've been corroded by, the sweet candy of the United States. You've had a couple of Big Macs. You've been to Taco Bell. You've driven around in a nice vehicle. You're in air conditioning. You're in comfort with a My Pillow. You're not doing all that. And this is just my opinion. But I say, you've been here 1, 2, 3 years. Yeah. But that being said, if you have been here long term and you've been here illegally and you have to go back to your country, I say I put a positive spin on that. Look at this. This is the best news Somalia as a country has gotten in years. And now that these people have gotten a taste of the first world, now that these people have gotten a taste of a first world country, they can import the U.S. mentality back to Somalia and actually improve their country. No more eating cats and dogs. A T-bone is much better. And I'd agree with that statement. That's what I'm talking about. You're eating good. You're living good. Why? You should, if you were these Somalis would to go back, they would not be able to go back, and they would not be able to function in the way that they were functioning previously when they lived in that country. They would want to make it more like the USA. And that's possible. I'm not even saying that with any amusement. You could easily go back there, change the way things are done, not easily, but you could start the seed of making Somalia not a third world country because they do have resources. They just don't use them right. I can't get into why, you know, maybe they'll stop all the inbreeding, which is probably decreasing, intelligent thought there. But if you were here and you had your cell phone, that's another thing. You got your cell phone and you got your great network and you got your hot, fast 5G internet. You know, you're living the life. I'll feel sorry for him for a minute, but you got to go back to that fucking mud clot. But, you could do things to improve the situation there. Let's see here. Now we're bleeding into this week. I may have to leave some of this stuff for next week. Where was I? So what was this? Yeah. No. There's a picture of this kid. Come on, where's that? She must have pulled it down. Picture of some young kid commits a crime. He looks like a real sugar foot. I'm going, oh, no problem. This guy looks like a tough guy. Now, here's a good one, and I'll end with this. So, I call it, and I'll call it, maybe we'll have a segment, Democrats grasping at straws. Say that again. Democrats grasping at straws. Here we have a picture of Donald Trump. You remember with the hand thing and the golf grip thing, whatever. So to get this picture of Donald Trump with some irritation on his neck, right? Now, I don't know if anyone could, actually, I know everyone out there, every single person listening to this right now, as a human being, has had some skin irritation of some sort, with pimples or rash or hives or bug bites or whatever. We all have it. And it usually looks more gruesome than it actually is. I'm a very clean cut guy, but occasionally, a little itchy here and a little itchy pops up there. And me, because I'm so meticulous, I'll freak out at a damn flea bite or whatever and be like, I got to go to the emergency room. But I don't. Dermatitis, which is what it's called, is so common that it has one blanket name. It's called dermatitis. I mean, for God's sakes, this guy wears a rigid collar on his suit, and he's an 80-year-old man. And God knows there's 10 or 15 things that could cause skin irritation, and if it got rubbed up on too much, or it didn't heal enough, or it didn't get any ointment, or whatever the case is, it could get inflamed. And these kind of things tend to flare up, and they can be gone in a day. They can stick around for 2 days. They can stick around for a month. But this is what I'm talking about. The Democrats have been waiting for a win. I used to have this conversation with my brother, who is a reformed liberal. He was on the plantation. He bought it. Let's just say his mom, who I would consider, let's just say my auntie, whom, for all intents and purposes, is a wise, successful black woman who made it independently, who raised them on that side by herself, but has been ingrained in the democratic system since day one. And that being said, there is a point in time when you have to go away, or the wool is pulled, the curtain is pulled, and there you see the wizard behind the curtain, and you realize you've been fooled. It's kind of the way that my brother came up to the dark side, so to speak. But I said, don't you? And then he was a Division I running back in high school and hates to lose. So I've been watching a long standing history in this last, and this even goes all the way back to before Biden was out of office, because they've been trying to paint this narrative for the longest. When they were going through this whole persecution of trying to persecute Trump, which is one of the most painful times in my existence, where they were trying to book him for the Mar-a-Lago thing, and the tax thing, and the Fannie Willis thing, and I just said to him, I said, don't you get tired of losing? Aren't you tired of being on the losing team? I said, I have to imagine that feels like constantly getting kicked in the nuts, because you get all ramped up about, oh, yeah, now we got him, oh. Every single time they exert the amount of energy they exert with the gotcha, we got him now, and they don't get him, Russiagate. I mean, the list is so long, I could do half the podcast and kill time just going through the list of things that they thought they had a win on. You name me one win. And it comes all the way down to this Epstein thing, too, which I don't, that's for another day. But this is what they grasp at. We got him now. Looks like the sound of absolute looks and sounds absolutely depleted today. Okay, I had to reread that. He would hate if you shared these photos taken earlier with your followers. Why? It's got a little fucking rash on his neck. This is your gotcha? Seriously? Wow. And shout out to United Spot. United Spot, as a parody account, United Spot is one of those ones that's like up on the list of, places that I will comment with. We have a real ping-pongy sort of a relationship, because they're very witty over there. Whoever's writing these things has a quick fire back for, is very similar to me, and won't post so much content as much as will comment on content that's posted. That's kind of my lane. I'm not trying to create anything or put anything out there, because everything is secondhand. You can't really say it came from me. You can't really trace it back to me. But, United Spot is really good at making their comments, and you can see it here. So they go, Why do you Democrats stare down at your own shriveled? Why don't you Democrats stare down at your own shriveled nutsack before you dare judge a man's neck? Here's a guy who busted his ass defending America today, day in, day out, while you slimy perverts and filthy pigs slither around pumping this country full of your toxic bullshit. I agree. The pot calling the kettle black on all this, and we all know that it's been a non-stop pot calling the kettle black. What I said earlier in this podcast, I know you are, but what am I? It's ridiculous. So this is their gotcha. And this was yesterday. I said today was a pretty serious day. You have a lot of political discord and a lot of back and forth in the conservative sphere with how people feel about the Iran thing, and I understand that. I want to let that water down so we can get back to humor. You know, and we can get back to what's funny. But on this one, a little bit of humor. This is all they got? Some skin irritation? Lord forbid they get a hold of a pic of my athlete's foot. That one got a lot of comical viewers to it. You know, that said, that is the end of the list for this week. So here's how I'm going to do it. Just as as housekeeping here. I put a post out this week that by popular demand, as I said. The reason that I'm doing this podcast is because I was asked by several people to share. And when I say several people, I'm really talking about, a few people. So, a few people that pay attention, that like the witty banter that I've come up with. And so I thought it would be valid. And I don't know what it was that sparked me this week, but I said, I got to do it. I just have to do it. And so what I'm going to do, it's going to be a weekly podcast. So let me announce it now. It was supposed to come out Saturday. This whole situation happened. I felt like it would be easier to let all of that die down. And so this will probably post tomorrow, which is Monday the 4th. But this will be a weekly podcast that will be downloaded, Rumble exclusive as of now. I'm deciding whether or not how I'm going to work out the YouTube thing, because I don't want to be censored and I don't want to have to censor what I say. I want to be able to talk freely on these things, and that should be the way that it should work. So for now, let's just call it Rumble. Saturdays. It'll be posted first thing Saturday, and it will be a week in reflection on the posts that get the most engagement. Of course, the name of the show is What's in the Feed. Of course, I'm your host, Low Tone, and I ask humbly, if you've made it to this point and you found it entertaining, that you like, you subscribe, and you do all those other things that the kids say nowadays to help for the engagement. There's going to be improvement here in the future. We've got a few sponsors that we have dealt with in the past that may want to be involved. We may have some guests, and that will be a surprise as to who I'm in communication with, whom you guys may know. So in the future, if this thing really does kick off the way that I hope that it kicks off, that we will be having some guests that'll be well-known guests that'll come in for the time. For the time right now, excuse me, I have not bought into a full-fledged server So as you can see, there's probably a watermark up here that says Riverside, which is an excellent podcasting platform. And I'll probably end up working, with a, full-fledged version of the podcast here really soon. But I want you to stay tuned in. And once again, thank you for listening. I am Low Tone. Next week, let's find out what's in the feed.